Hello, everybody. Welcome to my presentation on abandoning the remedy myth, writing centers as resources for skill building. My name is Nadia Moraglio, and I'm a writing specialist at the Writing Skills Improvement Program at the University of Arizona. Today, we're going to talk about myths about writing centers, collaborations to foster a strength-based and inclusive approach to tutoring, skill building tips, including ethical use of AI, mindfulness practices for writing, and overcoming writer's block. A lot of the times when we think about tutoring, we think from a deficit-based approach. That means that tutoring is selective for a group of students with a deficit, and this student may need writing skill support, fail a course, perceive themselves as weak writers, identify as second language speakers, or as a minority group, like, for example, first-generation students. However, if we were framing tutoring from a strength-based approach, then tutoring would be inclusive for all students without considering their writing skills, grades, personal perceptions or academic status, language, and educational background. Some tips for fostering a strength-based approach would include to initiate a collaboration with writing faculty, departments, and programs. We would invite all students, like a class or a cohort, to attend a session with a writing specialist. All students would work on a specific assignment, and all students would write a reflection about what they gathered from the meeting, and also they would consider how they could use the Writing Center services in the future. In this way, we're not focusing on working with a writing specialist because there is a need for it, but because everybody has an equal chance to participate despite their grades or their writing skills needs. To frame tutoring as a part of the writing process, we would highlight that writing specialists accompany students throughout their studies, act as an audience for writers, and empower their voices. They provide further skills that are transferable to other courses or contexts, and especially that they do not fix errors, but provide support and discussion options that align with students' needs. They focus on formative feedback rather than judgment or criticism, and above all, they're like mentors, coaches, or advisors who reinforce a positive approach to foster intrinsic motivation. Because our students come with a variety of questions, and AI right now is everywhere. So we need to make sure that we promote the use of AI in an ethical way. We would need to frame AI as a writing assistant and not a writer. To do so, we would help students to engage in a conversation with AI about their needs. And their needs could be established in one-on-one sessions. We would help students to identify their writing patterns and what they would need from, if they had an assistant, so that when they use AI, they know exactly what to ask. They would develop specific questions that will help tap into their writing needs. And also, we would help students to narrow their questions so that we create a learning moment while using AI. To use AI as a tool for feedback and engage in a conversation with AI, we need to help our students, again, to develop some specific questions. And those could be grammar related. For example, if we work with a student who may overuse commas or not use commas at all, then the student could include some sentences in AI and ask, is the use of the comma correct? Sometimes we work with students that their sentences are not concise, they're too long, so the student could ask, can this sentence be more concise? Or simply, is this sentence concise enough? We can also use AI for content or brainstorming. Given a specific thesis statement and knowing we need to write an argumentative essay, we could ask, is my thesis argumentative? And if we need to develop ideas to further elaborate in body paragraphs, we could ask, based on my thesis, what arguments can I make? Focusing on the body paragraphs, we could ask, does the body paragraph support my claim? In this question, we are not just asking AI to do the work, the whole work of writing, but we are targeting areas that we know can help us with our patterns. There are a lot of stressors when it comes to writing, creating an overall writing anxiety, and those are due to several reasons. Just to name a few, we have writer's block, the inability to get started writing, imposter syndrome, feeling of not belonging or being capable, excessive self-criticism, thoughts about oneself harsher than reality, anxiety, mental and physical, or lack of clear goals, motivation, or intent, which leads to the feeling of being lost or getting behind. And we know those are also the basis for students to drop out. So to help students, not just with their writing, but from an emotional perspective in relation to writing, we can think about mindful practices and as an aid for writing. We want to calm our students' minds before the actual writing. So we want to acknowledge stress patterns. We can ask our students, what are some stressors that you can control? Basically, what is internal, your internal stressor? And what are those stressors you cannot control? It could be classroom requirements, degrees requirements. And in that way, we can figure out what we can change within ourselves and also something that we will have to deal with because it's external, but maybe we can find better approaches. Breathing practices are known to help the mind to calm down. Slowing our breathing also lowers our blood pressure. And from there, we could also use our body movements, make gentle massages, slow movements, so that again, we get a feeling of relaxation. And from there, we can go back to our minds and think about reflections, but especially focusing on the present here and now to frame our feelings so that we can set an intent. A lot of the times our minds just think about the future, what will happen, what's going to happen if I do or do not do something, or maybe something that happened in the past. To set an intent and write, journaling is a great practice we can include. And it's informal writing, and we can think about telling a story. It could a story about maybe what we need to write in the future, or maybe just short writings about the here and now, about how we feel right now. Some sample prompts would be, how does your daily life affect your writing? What are you worrying about as you're writing? What allows you to keep writing? What stops you from writing? And what changes can, would, or should you make to ease the process of writing? And it would be good just to do this even daily so that we can find patterns and we can also see changes in our approach to writing. Some other tips to unblock the writer: we can use voice to text. For example, we can open Google Docs or Word documents, select the microphone option, and orally we would tell the story. And then we can look at the transcript. A lot of the times, it's a lot easier for students to talk about what they think they want to write instead of writing. And this would be a great start because the page would get filled up with words, and then it becomes more of a revision and providing structure to what was orally said. The same can happen from Zoom recordings. So if we meet students on Zoom, we can record the sessions and share the recording and the transcript. We can also try to do writing sprints, either 5, 10, 15 minutes, and we would not focus on form and structure. We would just let out the content on the page, what we know, and then we can go back later to give it structure, correct our sentences, adding sources, or anything else that's needed to address the final prompt. Some final thoughts: know your institution to find ways to promote writing centers as support for all students. Emphasize how writing skills are useful for all courses, not just writing classes. And do highlight that the skills learned for writing are transferable. Think about mindfulness practices, the use of AI. Those could be applied to any class. Establish meaningful relationship with students to understand which tools would benefit them most. In this way, we're tailoring our teachings for them, and not is just like the teaching of a class with maybe 100 students, and so it's one fits all. Promote support practices that may not be taught in the classroom. So ask your students what they do in the class and what they would like to see more, so that you can choose something that, again, is specific for what our students need. So if you have any questions or comments, please send them my way so that I can answer them in our synchronous meeting. And I'm going to leave you here with some information about our program, the Writing Skills Improvement Program, should you ever need our services. Thank you for attending my presentation.